We are in the middle of a sea change in this country, an empowerment revolution.
In a guest column for The Hollywood Reporter, NBC News host Megyn Kelly, who experienced sexual harassment from Roger Ailes, says that she sees opportunity for a lasting impact in the avalanche of horror stories. Kelly opens her column by offering, "Recently an audience member asked me what we can teach in schools about dealing with sexual harassment. My first reaction was, let's understand how bad the disease is before we prescribe the treatment. Just a couple of weeks later, we know the disease is advanced, severe, far more aggressive than we feared. The treatment," she writes, "must be equally aggressive." Reflecting on the sexual harassment she suffered at the hands of former Fox News CEO Roger Ailes, Kelly says that she knew no one was likely to help her. Despite that, she writes, "I found the nerve to tell my supervisor. He responded by addressing my behavior, urging me to give Ailes the benefit of the doubt. I asked around to see if any of my new colleagues had experienced similar behavior. If any of them had, none admitted it back then." Kelly notes that there is power in numbers when it comes to victims of sexual harassment and assault, musing, "Harvey might have been able to dismiss Rose McGowan alone. Rose plus 90? No way." While Kelly acknowledges the great strides women have made over the past 40 years, she also stresses that there is still a ways to go. There are still too few of us in positions of power in the most influential industries, and when we do ascend to positions of authority, we can face enormous backlash, she writes. Of course, Kelly herself has been the recipient of that type of backlash, as she recounts in her guest column. "When I was working my way up the ranks at Fox and in a submissive posture, I got along fine with the channel's most powerful men," she says. "When I launched a successful primetime show and stopped ceding the inevitable power struggles that came with it, things changed dramatically with some of them, and it was painful. The fact that it is still a world of men and women must learn to navigate that is lost on no female as she enters the workforce." Kelly praises the evolved men who, she says, are equally disappointed in these facts as women, but asserts that the truth remains that men who see women as creatures designed for their pleasure to be subjugated are far too great in number. Addressing that is going to require honest conversations about much more than sexual harassment. The continued implosion of powerful men is also causing many to re-examine retro notions about the anchor configuration of morning TV. Kelly's friend and ex-Today co-anchor Matt Lauer and former CBS This Morning co-host Charlie Rose are two of the most recent high-profile figures to face the consequences of sexual harassment allegations. It was left to Lauer's former co-host Savannah Guthrie, who was joined by Hoda Kotb, to break the news of his dismissal to viewers. Sources say Gayle King and Norah O'Donnell advocated to CBS management to host CBS This Morning without a third fill-in anchor the day after the Rose news broke. "I think this is an opportunity to think a little bit differently," says Soledad O'Brien, a former anchor of Today's Weekend Edition and CNN. "There's this mythology that it has to be a boy-girl team and the boy should be about 15 years older than the woman." To read Megyn Kelly's full guest column for The Hollywood Reporter, head to THR.com. For The Hollywood Reporter News, I'm Lindsay Rodriguez. This episode of The Hollywood Reporter News was brought to you by American Airlines, Hollywood's favorite airline.